Okay, I wanted to create this short video in response to a hangout that was just conducted earlier today by a representative from Actively Learn. In fact, had talked or had spoken with, I believe Steve was his name, about possibly setting up a hangout on air. It didn't work out. For some reason, I didn't get the invite. So I was able to hear the presentation, but I wasn't able to get into the Hangout to ask a few questions. So I wanted to create this video to kind of go over and review some of my first initial thoughts of the program, the services that they're offering. And I did have a few questions and just a few general comments about it, in hopes maybe that we could continue the conversation either asynchronously through forums or perhaps online. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. And well, this is an event, in fact, that was set up where I wasn't able to get in and into the Hangout. But this is a screen Actively Learn. And yesterday classes, just to kind of familiarize myself with the software. And I was going through and looking at some of the ways in which online reading might be adapted to what I'm doing. But you'll notice here that I imported a reading, and this actually came from my website that I'll go ahead and open up now, because I was curious how this would appear here. So this is the imported text, and I imported this text from a wiki, in fact. And now this is the site in wiki and what it looks like here, and then this is what it looks like here after I've imported it. One of the questions I had was, because my wiki registered under a CC license, a Creative Commons license, I was curious how this would appear here, because I think the video that Steve shared, it showed an example of a text that had Creative Commons listed at the very top, and I was curious how the text, how this would appear, and I don't see any reference to Creative Commons. So one of the questions I had was how the when you import text in, how does it display the type of license that it happens to be under? Is it automatic, or is there a setting within Actively Learn that I need to indicate what type of license this is? So this is one of the questions I had with regard to import here. This video here was done separate. I provided a link here in the instructions. I like how you can import, and I find this useful. And here I did a note, just a sample note here. So this is all fairly straightforward, asking questions both at the end of the text and within the text by selecting I like that option. It's very straightforward, importing information into the application. The thing I did notice just now was that it's not really clear when you're reviewing class. Here you can change your classes. I have two different classes. At first it wasn't really obvious. I was kind of looking on the left-hand side, maybe in an embed feature under view classes, or just classes, and then you could have a drop-down arrow where you could intuitively. I was just looking over here on the left-hand side, so it wasn't really clear at the top here to change classes, but that's just kind of initial reaction. Creating assignments is relatively easy, adding content. But I did have a question here. I noticed that there's a catalog. So if you click Find Content, it takes you to a catalog. And one of the questions I had was if the assignments that I import, if those are brought automatically into the catalog, or if those are separate, or if that's part of the Pro version. One of the questions I had was exactly the difference between the free version and the Pro version. and this idea of having a catalog and whether or not my assignments were included in that catalog. And that is also kind of in line with my question about licensing. If all of the content in the catalog is under the same type of license, if it is, what type of license, and so on. So those are the things that were coming to mind here as I was just kind of getting started. I've only had a look at the software, but it is relatively easy as far as bringing in information, bringing in assignments, and I haven't looked at all the different ways to share this with other teachers. Option as well. Maybe you need to have a pro account to have those. In fact, here are the details, so I could just look at the details. I haven't had a chance to do them. Let's see, what other questions do I have? I noticed that when you go in and you add an assignment, you can indicate a grade level. And so let me go back to my academic writing course. Okay, there it is. And now I'm not really sure exactly where that is, but when I set up or imported this assignment, I was given the option to indicate a grade level, and I noticed the grade levels only went up to grade 12. I was curious if there, in the future, if there are plans on extending that to the college level. I noticed their standards also, so this seems to be very much geared towards K through 12, but was curious to see if there are plans in the future to broaden the grade level to beyond just K through 12, or at least have an other option so that you weren't forced into grades K through 12. Another question I had, and I also noticed, if I remember correctly, that you indicate grade levels by assignment and also by class. If I remember right, when I set up the class, and I could be confusing it too, but one option, for example, on the assignments, you indicate K through 12, so you indicate the actual level, and then maybe for the class, you had to indicate 9 through 12 if it was a high school class. Or so I was curious why you have to indicate a grade level for both the class and the assignment, and yeah, so that was one of the questions I had. I wasn't really sure why that was the case. I'm sure there's a good explanation for that, but it's not really clear for me at this point. Okay, so all right, so also another question I had is, when you import a text from an online source, if there's a way to display the link where the text can be found. So it'd be nice to be able to view this text. Again, I brought this in from an online source, but to have this displayed perhaps here at the top might be a logical place here, and under instructions, just to have a link where a student might be able to find this text if the student or the reader just wants to view the same text online, right? So I can imagine after a while that there might be a lot of interaction and highlighted text and so on, but if someone were just to want to go and watch, or read rather, the text from an online source, that they have the link available and they could access that. Again, maybe this is available. I don't see that option. So that's another question I had. Let's see. The standards, I'd be interested to know where those standards come from. I teach in Mexico, but I am interested in where those standards were coming from. And so yeah, basically those are the questions I had at this point. Again, just not having had much time to kind of look at it in depth. I do like the checklist here, getting started. I looked at, as you see here, I've done a couple of these. but I haven't gone through all of these, so maybe some of my answers are embedded someplace in there. But this is what I was hoping, having a chance maybe to have a hangout on air where we could actually have a discussion around the software. I do like what I see. I also wanted to share kind of what I was planning on doing next semester at the college level as far as my writing classes, but seeing perhaps an opportunity to use this to kind of explain my situation and my context, to see if there are ways or suggestions that you might have as far as using this this website. And so yeah, if you want to have any other conversations regarding this the software, your services that you're offering, be more than happy to do that. And sorry I missed the hangout on air, and we'll continue the conversation. Would like to learn a little bit more about how other teachers are using this, and again, a little bit more information from Actively Learn reps themselves, as far as maybe tips on strategies and how this can be implemented in the classroom. So thanks for listening. Feel free to leave comments, and again, let me know if anyone's using this software and if anyone has any suggestions and tips on how this can better help the students with their reading comprehension.